Hi everyone, and welcome to Tuesday, June 27th, General Hospital Recap. As always, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of our videos or recaps. If you missed yesterday's, aka earlier today's, I shared my thoughts on the Rebecca Budig exit and Steve Burton return, so you could check that out if you missed it. But let's jump right into Tuesdays. At Kelly's, Julian wants to head out with Alexis, and then Christina approaches the scene. So Alexis says they're not going together, Julian's gonna go, and Christina's like, no. And then brings up the trial, and Julian asks if everything's okay with Sonny. He gave Jason a heads up about, this thing going on, and he hopes everything's okay, and Christina's like, why do you care? So Alexis thanks Julian for staying with her. She may have drank, but she says they're over, and he's still ambiguous. At General Hospital, Obrecht approaches Kiki and tells her how diligent she's been, and she could advance. She could advance very fast. And, they then kind of bad talks Monica and how General Hospital won't always be under Monica's leadership, and I'm like, girl, what are you doing? Well, we all know what she's doing. So Kiki is like, ooh, one second, I'm trying to lean back a little bit, so to bring this closer. Oh, that's better. So, Kiki is so pure. She's like, oh, is Monica retiring? And Obrecht's basically, says if she helps her take over, then she'll be promoted faster, and gives her all the information on what the staff is saying. Basically Kiki be her spy. And Kiki doesn't seem to like that amazingly. Can you imagine? So at J. Sam's, Monica's over there. And she loves helping with the kids, and Jason comes in, and Sam is super happy to see him, ridiculously happy. And Sam sees his slight wound and when he takes his jacket off, and he says it's just a graze, but she automatically starts freaking out. And Monica looks at it and is like, oh, he's fine. And then he tells them that Garvey pulled a gun, and Carly's the one who shot him. Ha 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 ha. Isn't that hilarious? But then Sam takes issue with Sonny, and how Sonny doesn't have to worry because he knows Jason will drop everything to protect him. And then she goes upstairs, and Monica's gonna head out, and Jason asks how Sam was when he was gone, and Monica says, having kids changes people, and it's just a rearrangement of priorities. And Sam says that, she says that Sam almost went to Puerto Rico, and he says again that this wasn't Sonny's fault, and Sam feels like that he's defending him, and she says, he can't be responsible for their lives. And Jason thinks her and Sonny had an argument or something, because she's very focused on him. So he says that, she's been really quick to react and volatile, and she's been disproportionate, basically. And he does understand where she's coming from, but maybe they should see a doctor, because stuff like this has happened before, and she hasn't reacted like this. So she feels very attacked right now. She just came out to have a good time, and she's feeling very attacked right now. I know it's on 2014, 2015, but honestly I don't care, because that fit way too well. And that he thinks she needs her head examined just because she's concerned, and he says he's just worried, he thinks something's wrong with her because and he's like, no, sorry. She's like, oh, what, you think something's wrong with me because I'm not just standing by smiling? And then Scout wakes up, so kind of the conversation kind of gets a little off track, and he says this isn't this just isn't her, basically. So when she comes downstairs, Sam recalibrates. She kind of comes down a little bit, and she's like, she's so focused on the fear, and it's almost like she blacked out, but she can't apologize for feeling that way. And he honestly asks her if she feels that everything's fine with her, and she's like, no, I don't feel that way. So at the Quartermains, Finn hears Hayden talking about how she's ambivalent about being a mother, and she doesn't know if that's what she wants. And Curtis asks if she's worried about being a less than perfect mom or a mom at all. So this seems to all be about her issues with her parents. Her mother lying to her whole life. Raymond Berlin, who she was raised that he was her father and what he did, and now this Jeff Weber, who she's never met. Sorry, I'm feeling a little salty. So, and passing all of that on, and he thinks that she's just in her own head about this way too much. The unplanned part is also hard for her. She's not sure Finn is in a good place right now, and then Finn comes in. So he says that he just got there, and they talk about the investigation, and Curtis is all for it. Let's get Obrecht, rah rah. Let's go. So then Monica returns home, and Finn thinks they should fill her in. You know, he believes the doctor at the hospital has been tampering with his tests. Oh, there's a piece of hair in my eye, sorry. And Curtis is going to get proof. And she's like, you know, I don't know if I'm comfortable signing off on one of, like, my doctors being investigated, like, right under my nose. Like, it just, yeah, I don't know if I'm comfortable with that. And he's like, well, there's doctors, and then there's Obrecht. And she's like, oh, what's the plan? She's 100% in. I love Monica. So Monica likes that Curtis has worked with Jason. Like, that makes him very trustworthy to her. And Monica is ready to do more than just turn a blind eye to this. Like, she wants to be involved. So she asks Curtis, let's go on a field trip. So Hayden gleans, that seems to be the word of the day, that Finn overheard what she said to Curtis. And he says, you know, he's been worried about the same thing. And she says, like, it's not a personal thing. He has a lot on his plate. And, like, this is just adding to his plate. And he says that they're just, you know, they just got to work with the timing. You know, there's never a time. Like, it just happens. Like, let's just go for it. So back at General Hospital, Obrecht is still there and is surprised as Monica. So they're going to have to, you know, Curtis is going to have to get in his disguise a little earlier and in character. I honestly can't wait. And they'll have to do their lab trip another time. In Puerto Rico, Sonny says, you know, he wants to leave the business, at least the violent side of it. And Carly doesn't believe it. And it's not that, like, she believes he's lying to her. She thinks he's lying to himself. So she says that he doesn't get to retire, like, at all. At least not without, like, a strong replacement. That's me talking. So Sonny's not going to hide out, you know, he's going to be there, and he's not going to go in the witness protection program or anything like that. Or, like, you know, if he chooses a successor, what if that person doesn't hold his ideals and starts with, like, drugs or something like that? So, or war breaks up, drugs or firearms, which leads me again to the question, what is it that he, like, what is his business? If it's not firearms and not drugs, what is it? Like, honestly, like, I thought it was firearms, but no. What is it? Do we even know? Or a war breaks out. So there is no one. There's Jason, but he's changed now. And Sonny says he's so different. It's like he's a different person. Be so convenient if, like, old Jason just showed up out of the blue. So Sonny gets a call. It's Christina checking in. She wishes Sonny would stop acting like all this violence is normal. Because, you know, yeah, everything's okay. The guy who tried to shoot us got arrested. You know, it's all fine. And she's like, like, that's not like a normal conversation normal people have with their parents. So she thought that things would change after Morgan. And she's tired of all these tragic phone calls, and he promises that things will change, and she says he can't promise that and hangs up on him. Girl. So back at Kelly's, Christina tells them that, you know, Julian and what? Oh, this thing showed up on my phone and I'm, like, trying to figure it out. Christina tells Julian and Alexis that everything is fine. Julian's glad that Sonny's okay, and she said Jason got there in time to save their lives, and she thanks him. Progress. Alexis talks with Christina about Sonny, and she asks, like, what's going on with her and Julian, because that's what Christina wants to know right now. Back in Puerto Rico, Carly feels like a hypocrite changing the rules this late in the game. She knew what she was getting into when she married Sonny, but now, like, she can't follow through. And he feels the same about himself. He says he doesn't know how, but he will find a way to change things. He's done with this life. So Sonny feels that this is the perfect time to make the transition out of the business. It'll take some time, but it'll definitely happen. And then he calls Lucy, and he's going to sell Pizzulos. So, end scene. Alexis tells Christina there's nothing going on with her and Julian. She says she wanted a drink, and she didn't want a drink, though. And she didn't want to talk to anyone. And then Julian showed up, and they got to talking. And Christina's like, well, what'll happen next time when Julian's not there? So Julian thanks Obrecht for everything they've done for Ava. And then he mentions how it was, you know, the hospital was almost turned into condos, and I'm glad it wasn't. Really? Monica has Curtis in this like IT person disguise, and Kiki asks Monica if they can talk in private, and Monica says that they're fine to talk right there in front of Curtis. So she tells her that Obrecht asked her to spy for her. Obviously she wouldn't, and Monica's like, no, you absolutely will. Hayden feels that she'll screw the baby up, and Finn says every parent does. They're both scared, but let's be scared together. I can't with this axing. I honestly can't. So Sam doesn't know what's wrong. You know, ever since she had Scout, she's felt antsy and like she's not totally in control. And she says, why, you know, can't it just be the stressors of life? Like her father's looking at life in prison and she doesn't like him. And her mom is a mess and her husband got shot. Like, why can't it just be that? Like, why does it have to be something wrong with her? So Jason's like, yeah, of course, but you've handled worse differently before. And she says, you know, what if they don't find anything? And he says, and then they figure out how to deal with things different. Sam agrees to see a doctor. Carly asks if Sonny's sure about this whole Pizzulo's leaving the business thing. You know, this is a symbol. Sonny's also taking apart his gun since he won't need it. She appreciates the gesture, but he's leaving himself vulnerable. And he says he's also vulnerable without her. And that is all for Tuesday's General Hospital recap. So, whew, just burning through the week. So I will see you in 0.2 seconds. I hope you have a great 0.2 seconds, and I will see you then. Bye.